So, welcome back to another Half and Half Scarf football podcast with me, Nick, and my mate Dom. Well, this week it's not just Nick and Dom because we have a very special guest. And when I say a very special guest, it's not because he is the only the fourth guest we've had in 43 episodes, but to say never meet your heroes. We'll introduce our one of our footballing heroes shortly. And we've called this episode Football's Not What It Used to Be because this very special guest has spent nearly 50 years in and around the professional game. And, over that time, football has changed, but we're going to explore how it's changed, why it's changed, and is it worse or better? I think we know the answer to that before we even start. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Dom, my co-host, but more importantly, David Hodgson, footballing legend, and I called him that. For those who are watching it on screen, he's a humble man, but footballing legend David Hodgson. Before we get into it, David, I'll just read a few stats out for the audience, okay? 450 games in professional football, two league title wins with Liverpool, 82-83 and 83-84. A European Cup winner, member of the squad for Liverpool as well. Charity Shield winner in 82. UEFA European Under-21 Championship winner with England in 1992. And England don't win many international titles. That's really impressive. Three times manager of Darlington FC. We might cover that a little bit. Author of Three Times a Quaker, which is a great name. My World of Football and Passion for Darlington FC, published by Speakeasy Publications. 30 years as a FIFA Registered Agent and 10 years plus as a talent scout in South America. But you're a Boro legend first and foremost, David. And I know you played for Liverpool. And I know you played for the Red and Whites up the road as well. But first of all, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thanks, Nick. Absolute pleasure. Honestly, when you reached out via LinkedIn, I had absolutely no hesitation in saying thank you. But I'm going to correct a few stats there, by the way.
Oh, go on.
Please do.
You've got 450. That was in management. I wish I'd played 450 games, but unfortunately I didn't. So 450 was in management. Three charity shields.
All right.
Yeah, three. Yeah, let's get this right. Three charity
shields. 3 Milk Cups, three charity shields, two leagues, one European Cup. What else was in there? And England under 21 in 1982, not 92. I wish.
No, I said 82. I thought I said 82.
Yeah. 82. Yeah, but yeah, it was the 450. I would never wish to mislead anybody. I never played 450 games.
Technically, I said 450 games in professional football. I didn't say you played 450, though, did I? So there you go.
700.
Excellent. Well, listen, as I say, a pleasure to have you on. Dom, my co-host, is wearing a shirt in absolute deference to you.
Well, it's an absolute tribute. I wish I had the home one. It's obviously it's a replica from our skilled people in the Far East, but it's if I had a red one, that'd be perfect. But this is my tribute to when I started going in '78 to Boro. But my real proper memories are probably from about 1980 onwards, when I was 7, and David was a big part of that for me. And I feel weird calling him David because to me he's just Hodgey, because that's what my dad called him. So
nobody calls me David.
My dad called you. My dad always referenced you as Hodgey, and you've always been Hodgey to me. Always
has been. I mean, I coach children at the moment, kids, 11, 13, whatever, both in Middlesbrough and in Dalton here, where my coach is school. And every single one of the parents calls me Hodgey, and every single one of the kids.
Brilliant.
Nobody calls me David.
Well, we'll do that as well, because that's who you are to me. And this shirt is in tribute to you, because you were part of my formative years in watching football. And what a team we had as well, by the way, at that point. And it was obviously, as a crestfallen 8-year-old, seeing a lot of those players then slowly leave, and then yourself in '82. Yes. It was brutal as a young fan, but getting into it, it was so exciting watching you lads on the pitch. Yeah. Just completely fell in love with football and that Boro team. It was just a brilliant time.
I understand that, because believe it or not, I actually went and stood on the terraces against West Brom. I was suspended for that particular game, and I remember going on the terraces with a couple of lads, Spanky and Tom McGinn, were the two they were fans, they weren't part of the club as such. And I remember going on the terraces and watching it from the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
And when I look back, obviously at the end of the game we won, and I literally wanted to go on the pitch.
Yeah.
which I was allowed to do, by the way.
Yeah.
The police wouldn't have stopped me, and I could have gone on the pitch. I actually think I sort of half remember. I think I did, just to see the lads. But remember, I was a Sunderland fan as a kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
By this point now, I'm sort of got Boro in my blood because of what it gave me my chance in life, etc. And I had a rapport with fans. But I can understand where you come from. And any fan, when they see the players on the pitch, it's something special.
Yeah.
Like I was for me when I was a Sunderland fan as a kid.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You'd have got to Roker Park, weren't you, in those days?
Yeah, it was Roker Park. I first went in 1965, 66. I remember my first game being against Heart of Midlothian. It was I'm not sure if it was a cup game stroke friendly game. It was a frozen night. The pitch was solid. They had bales of hay round the entire perimeter of the pitch, which had been on the pitch to get the game on. So it must have been a game of some importance back then. And I went with my dad, who was a Sunderland fan, and I just, like any child who goes to a football game, they see that one moment and then boom, yeah, it's hooked you.
You're in. You're in. Sometimes it is literally that first game and you're in, isn't it? It's just everything about it that just hooks you in. It was me. That was me first game, and I was there, and I just couldn't wait to go back the following week. It was just, and it stayed with me for 50 years, and I'm still doing it now. But it's never changed. It's magic.
The thing is for me is when you take, I took my son along as well, and I've taken other people's kids with me sometimes when got a spare ticket and a friend who says, can we come along? It's how green the grass is. You don't see grass as green as that, especially if it's like early season where it's been absolutely beautifully looked after. It looks like a bowling green, and maybe the floodlights are on it, and you're looking like the lights and the green and the noise. I mean, I don't know why people don't get hooked. You know what I mean? I've been going since '73. Jack Charlton's season for me was my first season, and wow! And we've had ups and downs, and probably more downs than not. But I'll just explain one of the reasons that we invited you on is on social media. You've posted quite a few really interesting comments that really resonate with Dom and I, which kind of gives the theme that football isn't quite what it used to be. You've been very balanced in your comments, but they're still like, it's not maybe what it used to be really. But I guess, how do you feel about football in 2026 compared to all the years you've been involved in it, as a player, as a manager, as a scout and stuff? Is it better? Is it worse? I know it's changed.
I think it's got a bit like, when somebody works in a chocolate factory, and when they first get the job, they think, oh my God, this is beautiful. I can have chocolate every day. And then eventually you're tired of it. And the chocolate doesn't mean anything to you anymore.
Yeah.
Football, unfortunately, that's how it's becoming in my mindset.
Yeah.
I'm watching football games, and all I'm seeing is managers, stroke coaches, sports, stroke whatever terminology they use today for example, a Pep. All following each other. Pep does it one way, and everybody else tries to do the same.
Yeah.
But the reason is they can't do the same because, one, they haven't got, in theory, his mindset as to how he wants to do it. Secondly, they don't have the goddamn players. So why would you ask players to play out from the back when they can't?
Yeah.
They can't. And with that, football is just, and it's not just the UK. I watch football every single day on a computer screen, identifying kids, and I'm seeing it right across the world. Everybody kicking out from the 6-yard box to the teammate in the 18-yard box.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, please tell me how many goals you've actually scored from that starting point.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the odds will be you don't. I know you don't score every time you kick a ball from the 6-yard box to the 18-yard box into the opposition's half. I know that as well. But it gets there a lot quicker, and it's a lot more goddamn into entertainment.
Absolutely.
Whereas we start off at the back, and I don't get it. I just simply don't get it, and I don't get it because Oh, let me just switch this off. Apologies, gentlemen. I'm really sorry.
That's okay. Don't worry.
We don't get it because the players are putting themselves under extreme pressure at the back. They are inviting to be criticised. They're inviting the public to turn on them when it's not going well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that invariably is across the entire league, probably 70-80% of the teams. At some point, the public are getting frustrated and annoyed with them because they're not getting anywhere.
Yeah, I totally, that resonates with me completely. You know, I'm also an adoptive Evertonian. I live in the northwest, so I take my daughter to Everton. She's a staunch Blue, and I see it every week there. And everything's playing out from the back, but sadly they can't do it. So they literally start by playing out from the back, and then within 2 passes, it's back at the goalkeeper. There's pressure on them, and then it gets launched long. And it's like, why are you even wasting your time? If you'd be far better off starting the attack with a precision pass going up the field. You take the pressure off the back forward immediately, and you're 3/4 of the way up the field. Start your attack from there. Not everything has to be out from the back, does it, all the time? Do you not think some of it's also, David, about time wasting? As in, like, if a team's winning a match, they'll do all this ridiculous nonsense from the keeper to the defender and back again because it's eking away time in a match.
John, we wasted time, but we didn't waste time in front of a goal. We wasted time in the opposition's far corner flag.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You put the ball there because it's the furthest point away from your goal. It's logical.
Yeah.
Why do it in front of your goal when you can do it on the opposition's half?
Yeah.
And now you boom the ball into the far corner, chase it down, pin them in, don't let them out.
Well, you mentioned earlier, Hodgey, there about, you know, how many goals have they scored from there? More importantly, how many goals are conceded every single weekend in the football pyramid from people trying to play out from the back who haven't got the skills, who haven't got the Pep Guardiola training. You know, every weekend when I watch the highlights of the EFL and match of the day, there's invariably 2, 3, 4 goals where a big defender has got his back he's facing his own goal. The ball's rolled out to him. He's got 2, you know, nippy attackers round his ankles. He loses the ball and they just slot it home. And you think to yourself, what are you trying to do there? Why are you trying to do that? It didn't used to be like that, did it? You used to play with pace.
That's insane. Football has become. We follow people now. There's no creativity out there. They talk about all these super coaches and everything. Listen. I'm not going to blow a trumpet here, but way back in. And the Dalton fans will tell you this. Way back in '95 when I first came to the football club, I had to change things because the players in certain positions weren't good enough. So I went with a back 5 with a sweeper, a lad called Matty Appleby, who became a defensive midfield player when we entered in the opposition's half and dropped back as a sweeper when we came in our half. I had 2 fullbacks who were great at going forward, not the greatest defenders, but when we went forward, they went wide. And when we lost the ball, they came in narrow. There's nothing changed because the pitch is only the same size.
Yeah.
And you've got 22 players. Where can you put a player on there that he's never been before with it in a football game? You can't. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So you've got that. I think what football needs is we need a Harry Bassett, a Dave Bassett, Harry Bassett, everybody in football. We need a Howard Wilkinson. We need a Graham Taylor. We need a Joe Kinnear. We need somebody, a Big Jack, for example, to come back into football and say, hey, listen, boys, let me tell you, there's no way we are going to put the ball, a pass around in front of our 80 ball. We're going bang. And what we need is we need somebody to come and turn over the likes of Man City through sheer direct football, win the game. And then what you'll get is you get all these sheep who are the coaches in charge of all the other teams. Oh, we better do that now. Oh, yeah. It's a lot easier than trying to play up there. And that's what we need. Football needs that.
We've said on previous episodes, haven't we, Dom, that we think Pep's broken football. And we genuinely think that, you know, whilst he's a coaching genius in his Barcelona team of 10, 11, 12, etc., at that time when they were doing tiki-taka and nobody else was doing it, it was a joy to watch. But then everyone's copying it. It's rubbish, isn't it? Because the game's a bore.
Exactly. Yeah. It's nullified everything. Everybody's the same tactics. There's no different. Like they're on about Arteta at the moment. You know, they're starting. No, Arsenal. Yeah, of course they're starting to struggle a bit. Every team struggles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Liverpool when it won the league.
Yeah.
Never won they got beaten the last 7 games. Only they had that many points ahead of everybody else. They couldn't catch them. But they hit the buffers. Most teams do hit the buffers at some point. And Arteta now is coming up with all these philosophies about showing on the training ground, big screens and everything. Jesus Christ, just keep the game simple. Keep the ball. If you haven't got the ball, get the ball back. Simple.
Yeah.
Who did you work under at Liverpool then? Because Liverpool were a machine at the time you went there. Who were you?
Yeah, Liverpool were doing what they're trying to do now, but they weren't doing it in front of the goal. Okay? Liverpool kept the ball. They kept the ball for one reason now, and I remember this from Bob Paisley, and when I first arrived at the club, that they kept the ball in order for you, the opposition, to try and step forward and win it, knowing that the moment a midfielder came beyond or up alongside the strikers, they had the opportunity to get in behind straight away.
Yeah.
And that was it, was just basically drag them out to get in behind and drag them out by keeping the ball.
And it's a really good point you make there, Hodgey, because no one does that anymore. How many games do you go to now where no one's trying to get in behind? It's safe football. Everything goes out to the wings. But when it goes out to the wings,
it comes back in the full-backs.
They try and bring it back
in the centre-backs. Yeah. And then goes. Nobody takes anybody on.
No, no one's crossing it in. They go back. They go out to the wings. Then they knock it back inside. Then it, like you said, goes back into the middle. Then it goes out again. It's almost like this endless passing mentality. You have to find the perfect pass and the perfect finish. People just want to see a few shots and they want to see some aggressive football. But no one really puts it in behind. But Liverpool were the masters of that, weren't they? They had the players to do it as well.
And they spun players. They turned them. They got them facing the opposition goal. That was my forte in football. I wasn't a great goal scorer, but I could create. But I love nothing better than getting the ball over the top, down the channels and spinning and going in the end. That was it. I mean, we talk about like Man City, for example. Jack Grealish, I used to love watching this kid play. And I'm not somebody who, I'm not a Jack Grealish fan in terms of Villa or anything, but I just used to love watching the kid play. And then he goes to City and he does it for a while, but then he becomes this stagnant wide player.
Yeah.
Check inside, give it. Come inside, give it. Come inside, give it. I don't know how well he's doing at Everton, by the way, but I'm assuming he must be doing well.
Well, it's a really good point you make there, Hodgey, because I've been saying to Nick on the pod as well. He's been brilliant at Everton. I mean, he's a breath of fresh air, Jack. He's a lovely lad.
At Everton, what he was doing at Villa.
Yeah, and we've seen snippets of that. We've seen pockets of excitement. But I've said to Nick and I've said to everyone I go to at the game, and I take my daughter, and it's almost like he needs another season with us because you can see how well he's been drilled by Pep over 4 years. That when he gets the ball, the one thing he's lacking is what he used to do at Villa, where all of a sudden, by the time he gets the 18-yard box, he'd have the confidence to sort of bring it inside and have a go. He doesn't do that anymore. He's always looking for the next final pass. And everyone's like, oh, Jack, just have a go. You've got them on the ropes. They're scared. They're scared shitless of what you're going to do. They don't know what you're going to do next, whether you're going to turn inside, go out wide. But at Villa, he'd just take a player on and then have a blast of a goal. And he'd have that rawness. That seems to have been taken out of his game. And it seems like it's taken a while in his head to actually think, do you know what? I think he recognises the shackles are off at Everton. He's got freedom. But it's just that element at the end where it's almost like this Pep mentality going, I need to just see if there's someone better who's going to score a goal. They're almost terrified to just, no one would mind if he took a shot and it missed, but just have a go. We're just desperate for players to have a go rather than always trying to find the endless pass that never happens.
They're obsessed with possession stats, though, aren't they? And stuff. You look at it and go, how many possession stats have we? What we've had 73% possession. Middlesbrough over the last 6-8 weeks, we've had 150 shots, 73% possession in loads of games. We haven't beaten anybody. Because we don't actually take a shot and we don't take a man on and we don't take risks as it stands at the moment. And we haven't got that much pace. Or for someone with your pace, Hodgey, when you were in your prime at Middlesbrough, God, you could beat a man with pace, couldn't you? Turn him round, and if you turn him round with pace and then get the ball in the back, you mentioned there, goal scoring, etc. They didn't have assists in your day. They weren't called assists, but you'll have had a hell of a set of stats for assists and making goals, wouldn't you? If they existed in that time.
I got more enjoyment out of doing that than I did scoring, and the one person who benefited from that time when I was there, who ended up being a centre half in the end, was Big Billy Ashcroft.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
remember Big Billy
Yeah.
coming up to me at the end of season in Mallorca, and he might have had a few drinks, and he said, "You know what, Hodgey, if it hadn't been for you, I wouldn't have got 80% of the goals here this season. And that was all down to you." Which I did, but I didn't count the stats. I didn't count how many times I made people goals, but I actually loved making a goal more than I did scoring, honestly, which is pretty goddamn stupid when I look back, but however. But yeah, they don't do that anymore. They don't go to the bylines. I'm not saying that because that was my style, and I think that's how it should be played. They just don't do it anymore. Anthony Gordon, for example, when the Newcastle signing, I thought, what a great signing. This kid's got pace. He wants to take on. But even Anthony, over the last few games that I've seen Newcastle play, wants to come back inside.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to go to the byline.
Yeah, it's true.
Why? I don't get it. I just don't get it.
It's a very simple game. Sorry, Dom. It's a very simple game, isn't it? Cloughie used to say it's a very simple game, and it is a simple game. But the reason we said, is football different to what it used to be, and is it broken? It's overcomplicating something that's very simple and beautiful.
Yeah. Simple. I seen somebody put a post. I nearly jumped on it, but I'm glad I didn't, to be honest with you. A guy came on LinkedIn the other day and put a post on, or maybe today, I'm not sure, and said about would you get in a car with somebody for a driving test if the people who were giving you the lesson weren't a fully qualified driver? Well, then Cloughie said that.
Yeah.
That was one of Cloughie's comments. Why would you let your son get in a car, or a daughter get in a car with somebody who hadn't passed the test? And why would you let somebody coach your kids who've never kicked the ball?
Yeah.
And I agree with him. Not 100%, but 99.9% I do with Cloughie. And I seen somebody put that out yesterday, and I nearly went and thought, shut up. You're only quoting Cloughie.
Yeah. They're trying to be smart on social media. Yeah, they're trying to be smart. You're coaching then. Talk us about you've got coaching academies around Darlington, is that right? You still look after. So talk to me about, what do you look for then? Is it just about the kids having fun and falling in love with the game, or is it about finding talent, or a combination?
Well, it was, to be honest with you, my reason I did it was I told you I spent 9 years sitting glaring at a computer in a house on my own, because I sent my wife, my daughters went to a business together and blah, blah, blah. So I ended up where, and to be honest with you, I went down big time. Okay. So Mark Proctor, who you will well know, probably is my closest friend in life and theory, rang me up 2 years ago and said, Hodgey, I need to have a coffee with you. When he asks for a coffee, he wants something. End of. He's not ringing me for a coffee to have a chat. He's ringing for a coffee. And I went and had a meeting with him, and he said, Hodgey, I need you to come and help me. I said, what? Doing what? He said, coaching. I said, forget it. He said, Hodge, I need you, pal. I said, I called Procky Charlie, by the way, so I will only refer to him as Charlie because I find it difficult to call him Procky. I said, Charlie.
Yeah.
I haven't coached Paul for 15 years, and I haven't certainly coached children. So I did it because he was my best mate. I did it because he needed me. And I went along, and I never slept for 2 months because all I kept worrying about is, am I doing things that these kids are enjoying? Okay. Yeah. As it happens, I was, but I wasn't in my own mind. I wasn't. Sorry, it started there. So my daughter says to me, Dad, listen, you travel an hour across the Teesside. It takes an hour to get back. And I always go an hour before anyway to make sure I get everything set up. And then it takes me half an hour to clean up. So she said, why don't you do it in Darwin? So we set it up, but the only purpose was not a money-making object. I actually think I'll actually probably lose it, because what it cost me for the facilities, and I won't have more than 12 children, and what I charge them is, I lose money, put it that way. So, and I did it for one reason. One, for some enjoyment, but two, is there a possibility that I might just be able to give some youngster that extra bit that gives him that chance to go on to be something?
Yeah.
And that's what I do. And to be honest with you, I'm even now, I get too deep into it. Truthfully, I do. I'll come home and my wife will say, "Oh my God, tell me what's going on." And I'll reflect on something that's gone in the sessions. So I do it for the children, but I'm not a YouTuber. I can't show them 20 tricks because I couldn't do 20 tricks in my day. Okay. But what I can tell them is how to play football the correct way. Okay.
Yeah.
So I really focus on the basics of football, because if you can't do the basics, you will never, ever, ever be a football player. If you cannot pass a ball straight, you're not going to be a football player.
Yeah.
If you can't control the ball, percentage-wise, 85% and above, you're not going to be a football player. Okay? Yeah. So they're the basics, but I do it in a way that I did it as a pro, but I do it that the children can understand. Boys and girls, I mean.
What age group? What age group, Hodgey, we're talking about?
So I coach from they're all 10 to 13.
Yeah.
So I'll do 10 to 11s and 11 to 13s. And if a youngster, if the parents would like to move up, I'll allow the child to come in and I'll make the decision if he's good enough or she's good enough to be in that age group because of the physical. Okay. Yeah. But personally, you could blend them all together and they all understand where I'm coming from. I do proper drills with these children in a simplified way, so they become better players. I only want them to become better. I want them to enjoy it. And I think the fact is that near enough 90% of the children that started a year ago are still with me now. Some have gone for different reasons, but on a whole, 90% or maybe 95% are still here. And with that, I'm delighted. And there's a little bit of a reflection that when I was a manager, not one player ever asked for a transfer. Wow. And I always look back and think, well, I had 10 years, hundreds of players, and nobody ever came and said, "Gaffer, I want to leave this club."
We'll explore that in a minute, your Darlington management, because that's a fascinating story. Very quick question, though. As a fan who's been on the terraces and sat in an all-seater stadium, unfortunately, since all-seater stadiums came in, I understand the reason why. You say that you'll never be professional football if you can't control the ball 85% of the time. I've seen plenty of players who couldn't trap a bag of cement on a regular basis. How do they get through the system then, Hodge?
Listen, they might do what not many people do. They might score goals for fun.
Yeah.
Which is a gift.
Yeah.
Or they might be unbelievably good defenders that in a 1v1 they very, very, very rarely get beaten, but they probably find themselves in 1v1 because they constantly give the ball away. I don't know. But you might find that. Listen, I'm not saying that, being able to pass the ball is the be all and end all. But what I'm saying is that if you can't pass the ball straight, then you're forever going to be chasing to get the ball back.
Yeah.
Why do you want to be running around trying to get a ball back when really you should be goddamn keeping the thing in the first place?
Yeah.
Because that's what Liverpool philosophy was. When I first arrived there, Bob Paisley, Joe Fagan, Ronnie Moran, Roy Evans, Chris Lawler, all those guys ever shouted on the training ground was keep the ball, 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 get the goddamn ball back, get the goddamn ball. That's all they said.
Yeah.
They didn't ask you to lift your head up and spray ball 50 meters. They actually used to say keep it below head height and less than 20 meters, because the longer it goes, the more time it's in the air or it's in a position for the opposition to win it. So everything was passed short and quick.
Yeah, it was, and it was
simple.
It was more often as well on the ground as well, wasn't it?
Always on the ground, like Clubby said. If God wanted you to play football in the air, to put grass in the sky.
Absolutely.
And there's no grass in the sky. I mean, look, football's simple. The biggest problem I think in football is the modern day Sky TV have to constantly turn it around in order to draw people to it. Yeah. So we've gone through all the different pundits, and then they changed the good football and straightforward talkers like the Mark Lawrenson, the Alan Hansons, those type of people, the Sunesses, and others at me. And I'm just using my old teammates in theory. They took them away from football and replaced them with ones who were eloquent in conversation and could give a description better than a simple straight through ball through the middle of the park, or just broken the lines and all that type of garbage. Okay,
Low
it's
block.
exactly the same.
Low block. What the hell? Where's that come
High
from?
block. In other words, closing down
Oh.
from the front line. Look, there's all the old terminologies have just been rephrased, and the new punditries, they know the new phrases, and it sounds great.
Yeah.
But they're starting to wear off now that they're starting to bring all the ladies in to do the commentary.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, hey, I don't care if ladies, give a better description of a game than a man. I don't care. I'm not, sexist. If the girls are brilliant at it, bring them on. I don't mind.
Yeah.
But they're even using the same terminologies of the modern day pundit.
Yeah.
So
I agree. It's about
change football.
It's about keeping it simple, isn't it? Like football's the same game, so just use the same terminology. Just keep it simple and keep it basic. Yeah.
Pitch is the same, 11v11. The ball's the same. The objectives get there. And I remember a guy called Tom Saunders, who was Bob Paisley's and Bill Shankly's right-hand man, but he was a silent guy that not many people knew about at Liverpool, outside of Liverpool. He was a scout, actually. That was one of his main roles. He would go and watch Liverpool's opposition before thingy. And I remember sitting with him, and I had a lot of time with this gentleman, and likewise him to me, by the way. And I remember him saying to me, Hodgey, let me tell you, I'll go and watch these European games, and I'll come back and I'll give the gaffer a report. But the bottom line is, how do we know that the ball will bounce in the same place twice? Think about it.
Yeah.
I remember him saying it, and I'm thinking, geez, he's right.
Yeah.
They'll have a free kick. But who says they're going to get a free kick against us in the exact same position?
Yeah.
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 If you understand how he said it made such common sense, but try and explain that to somebody, the ball will never bounce in the same place twice. So how the hell do you know what they're going to do with the ball?
So it's almost like saying I can go and watch a million games, but I'm never going to be able to really tell you how they're going to turn up in that game and how that game's going to play out. So it's more about knowing what we do as a team rather than what they do as a team.
That was Liverpool's philosophy. Liverpool didn't give a damn about the opposition. There's been a lot of footage shown in the past where Bob Paisley's got a Subbuteo board and he's trying to explain to you, and then he'll go and throw all the pieces off the board. Let's just go and freaking play, because that's how Bob used to talk, by the way. So, and I excuse me from swearing, because I don't swear as a human being, but Bob used to swear for fun. And he would come out with that. And to be honest with you, he was right. They were right. Shankly's, the Paisleys, those guys knew exactly how football was. Yeah. And others, by the way, we Don Revis and Harold Shepherdson, who was at Middlesbrough when I was right, he was in this with the '66 World Cup team. Yeah. They knew what football was about.
Let's take you back. Let's take you back, because we've got a lot of Boro listeners and stuff. So obviously they're interested in. Talk us through when you're at Boro, your fondest memories. The Holgate end when it was packed and rolling, and scoring in front of the Holgate end or whatever, or your best game or happy memories. Because obviously when you went to Liverpool, and I'm not knocking Boro at the time, but you've stepped up a professional level in terms of, I guess all of the levels of coaching and expectations and European glory. But at the Boro, I always felt that you and the team at that time had a brilliant connection with the fans, and that seems to have gone. What was it like playing for Boro in the late 70s, early 80s?
Well, you've got to remember, is I was Sunderland through and through, eh?
I know.
So, you don't lose that in thingy, but for some reason, my total love and affection went away from Sunderland Football Club, and it became all Boro. I mean, I did not want to leave Middlesbrough Football Club.
Yeah.
I declined the opportunity to start with to go to Liverpool. I never wanted to leave. I was sold because Middlesbrough Football Club were in a huge financial state, and my sale was to keep the club technically alive. As it happens, it didn't, because 1 or 2 years later we were bust. Okay?
Yeah.
But that I was sold. Never, ever, ever, ever want to go. But the horriblest thing, and I say horrible, by the way, of all my time at Ayresome Park, the one game that sits with me visually from the first minute to the last minute to the end of the game was Wolverhampton Wanderers away. It's the one game that I can picture from start to finish.
Why?
Even now? Wow. That's
And
amazing.
that game was the game that changed the face of Middlesbrough Football Club for many, many years, because we got beaten in the quarterfinals of a team that we'd already beaten twice in the league.
Yeah.
And the club from that moment was the decline instantly. There was a huge argument in the change room at the end of the game, because I think something had kicked off between Tony Mack and Craig Johnson, and Craig come out with words, well, I don't give a shit, I'm going to Liverpool anyway. And that triggered something. That wasn't taken away from Craig, because Craig, we'll talk about Craig and just after this conversation if you wish, but he gave everything for the Boro, but it was a case of like, well, I don't care, I'm going anyway type thing.
Yeah.
So it was all the start of the game, the end of the game, and after the game. All that stays with me and never lost, because I think that was the turning point. Had Middlesbrough won that game, I think Spurs had got to the final that year, if I remember right. But I think we'd already beaten them twice as well, by the way. And that could have been a turning point for Middlesbrough Football Club to become something special. We were a goal scorer short. Big Billy wasn't a goal scorer. In the end, he proved that, he went to centre-back. And I wasn't a goal scorer, so we'll put that record straight to it. But the football club probably had it beaten Wolves, gone into, even if say, like, let's say, get to Wembley, we would be in a great position to attract
better players,
2 players to the football club to make us a force in football. And maybe Craig and Procky and David Armstrong wouldn't have gone.
Yeah.
They would have stayed. And Spike was Boro through and through. He's Sunderland fan like me. Procky was born and bred. Craig was obviously Boro because he'd come from Australia. Had the club won that particular game, the future or the history of Middlesbrough could have been considerably different.
I class that very similarly as the Elland Road relegation with Juninho in the team. If we'd have just stayed up that season with a 3-point Blackburn, obviously a decade and a half later than you're talking about, again, you just don't know what would have happened. But
but that's football. That's the beautiful thing about football.
Yeah,
we can all talk about what could have been and what should have been.
It's moments. We talk about moments all the time, Dom, don't we?
Moments. That one moment that they scored at Wolves, I'll never forget it. In extra time it was as well. We were out, yeah.
Do you know, it's now you've talked about that game, I remember it really well. And I remember at the time thinking that we were more than capable of beating either Spurs or Man City, because they were no great shape in those days.
No, we'd beaten them both. We'd beaten them both. And this, please, I hope this doesn't come across. I remember at extra time, John Neal had us all gathered round, and all he kept saying was, get the ball to Hodgey. Just give him the ball. Just give him the ball. Because I know on that night as well, I was on fire.
Yeah.
And I know in my heart that all I wanted to do was just rip them to pieces whenever I got the ball.
Yeah.
And he literally, he basically said, he probably should have used some other tactic now and I look back. But, but we were on about the Boro, and that's the one memory I have, give or take, above most others, which is crazy because I wore the Boro shirt for 100+ games. But that one game struck Swansea away when I remember having a joy day down there as well.
Do you know what? I don't think that is crazy. I think that resonates in terms of that's a key moment in how things could have been for the club. So I think that is a big deal. Yeah. Just linked to that, interestingly, is do you think because of that did the club have to sell the likes of Proc and Spike?
Well, Procky was out of contract. In those days, you couldn't walk away free, but you could go to a tribunal and get peanuts.
Yeah.
Craig, they sold. I'm not sure if Craig demanded to be sold or maybe it was an offer too good to turn down from Liverpool.
He always looked like he wanted to go, didn't he, to Liverpool? That's how it looked to a fan, really.
Craig, listen, the point I said to you earlier, there's something about Craig I'll tell you about. I've been in football 50 years now.
Yeah.
I'm 66 coming up, so technically I joined at 16 at Boro, so technically I've been 50 years in football.
Yeah.
I've been at so many clubs all over the world. I never, and I will never in my lifetime, ever found a player that deserved to be a football player more than Craig Johnston.
Wow.
Yeah.
Craig Johnston arrived, and that's me talking about times even in management, when I had kids coming through who give everything. No player in my lifetime deserved to be a football player more than Craig Johnson. Craig Johnson arrived at Ayson Park, and I'm telling you now, Jack Charlton's words were, he will never be a footballer as long as he's got a hole in his...
Yeah.
Okay? That was Jack, and Big Jack knew a player.
Yeah.
He signed players for the Boro. Souness is a great example. Graham, Bobby Murdoch, etc., etc. Jack Charlton knew a player, and he made that statement about Craig. Craig Johnston was on that training ground 2 hours before we even arrived.
Yeah.
And he was there 2 hours when we'd all gone home. And we also trained, by the way, as kids.
Yeah.
Every single day, every single minute, Craig had a ball, would bang it off the wall, 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 twist, turn, bang it off the wall, pass it. Honestly, every single... We actually turned up one day when it had been snowing heavily, and we got to the training ground at the Boro at the time. What the thing he rode now, it's escaped me. It will come back. And we got there, and the ground was flat. The ice, the snow had been turned to ice because Craig had literally covered every ounce of the pitch for 2 hours, long before we got there.
I think, and particularly for me, I was young at that time, so I didn't see him for very long. Maybe from a Boro perspective, we just saw the raw Craig Johnston of what was going to become.
Listen, Craig was still raw at Liverpool.
Yeah.
They tried to sell him within a month to sign him, for God's sake, to Stoke City, apparently. And he wouldn't go. Bit like Jordan Henderson, done the right thing. He said, I'm not going. And he was raw. He didn't have a football brain. He didn't have this ability to read a game and understand the importance of where to move, etc. But what he'd done was he worked his goddamn socks off, and he worked on his technique, and he worked on his passing, and he worked on his desire to get in the box. He scored goals, Craig.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that's what he did.
I'll tell you what, though. Hodgey, with that, he's sort of like on a modern day equivalent. We had at the Boro Morgan Rogers for half a season, and I mean, when he signed for Villa, you look at it going, hey, yeah, okay, I get that. He signed for Villa, and he's got on to another level, like Johnson did at Liverpool in the 80s. You know, you could see he had raw talent, but when he played for Boro, as Dom said there, did we see the best of him? Quick question on Jack Charlton, though. 10 years later, if he'd found out Craig Johnson had any Irish in him, he'd have signed him for Ireland for the World Cup, wouldn't he?
Well, listen, Craig at that point was coming up with relatives from every part of the world. He had Scots in him, he had English in him, he had Welsh in him. And I'm 99% certain if he'd had half a chance, he would have said, I'm Irish as well.
Yeah.
He played for England under 21s alongside myself. I think maybe only 1 or 2 games. He never got selected beyond that. I don't even think he got selected for national team full. But Craig would have been anything. He was an eccentric character. Yeah. Really was, in a funny kind of way. Lovely guy, lovely kid. Obviously became my teammate at Liverpool as well. So I have an awful lot of affection for him. But in terms of desire to be a football player, if I could have bottled up what he'd done.
I was just going to say, if you could bottle
social media today,
bottle that and give that to
in
your
order
kids
to
now.
be a football player, there is what you have to do.
Yeah.
I'd be a billionaire.
Do you think the work ethic these days, it's a bit of a generalisation, but you see there's a lot more distractions for young kids now, isn't there? So let's say you're a young kid with a little bit of raw talent. If you're Craig Johnson at the time, it's football, 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 football. He's got a ball at his feet, he's got a wall, he's kicking it against it, whatever it might be. These days, kids have got so many distractions of social media and other things. Do you think kids put that work ethic in to convert raw talent to actual, opportunity?
To be honest with you, I'm amazed with the amount of children who come to my sessions, who go to another 3 or 4 different sessions as well during the week. Like Andy Collett's got Premier Players over here. Andy's got some like 500,000 kids or something. But that's his business in theory.
Yeah.
And these kids go to all these, and I wonder and think the parents, oh my God, do you stand for 1 hour in torrential rain because you don't want to be at home with the little ones? Or do you stand for 1 hour in torrential rain because you've got this burning desire to give your child the best chance ever to be a professional football player, when 99.9% will not even be a footballer.
Yeah.
And when I say professional, even League Two. And they do it. So that's the bit that amazes me, that parents, we didn't have that. We didn't have academies Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday when we were from the age of 9 to 15 before you became, in my case, apprentice at the Boro.
Yeah.
But yet the parents, they go and they stand. The mums and the dads stand in the rain and the freezing cold 4 hours a week with their children going to all these different things. I don't know how they afford it, by the way, but they do it.
On that
and
point, though,
it's mind blowing.
On that point, though, Hodge, that's a really good point you made there. Do you think, in your experience, do you think the kids want to be at all these sessions, or do you think the parents are kind of trying to guide and push them into these sessions? Because there's so many parents now that are almost wanting to live the dream through the kids. And do you find that the kids are? Do you find the kids love going to all these sessions, or would you prefer them to be like focusing on 1 or 2 quality sessions a week, and just like in your sessions? I know you probably put a lot of discipline in your sessions, and it's focus on the basics. But I take it you also make sure that they're having fun and that it's enjoying the experience. And would you find so the kids go to yours, if they go to other ones as well, do you find they suffer from going to more than one session? And
they go in my kids in Dalton, for example, the youngsters who I train, they go to 2 or 3 different academies all the week. And all I can, like I said to you, is that I've still got 95% of the children who came at the very, very, very beginning are still here now. But I have humour with them. In fact, sometimes I have football wit with them, which I know they really don't understand. And I hear the parents laughing, but the kids go, "What's Hodgey on about?"
Yeah.
I've got this like old school banter with them, which is mad. But I get on with my little ones, and I love them to come, and I listen, because I've been in football all my life. I know which ones may not have enjoyed something. I know ones who something's not right, and that's just me as a human being. I've always been like that. I watch every child. I know everyone's nature, and if something's not right, I will contact the parent straight afterwards.
Yeah,
and I'll ask, listen, tonight something wasn't right. I could be, oh yeah, Hodgey, you're right. This happened, and I just know.
Yeah,
If there's something not right. I changed something the other night for one of the little ones in the session. I made him be on 3 touch. I mean, okay, when the kids want to be, all do is run with the ball. Of course, we know that. But I put this one particular boy on 3 touch, and I didn't explain to him why, because I didn't want to explain to him why, because I found out that there's 1 or 2 clubs are looking at him.
Yeah,
and I know that. In my session, he has the capabilities of running from the back to the front with the ball, because he's quick, he's strong, he's technically very good. But go to an academy and train with the under-11s at the Boro, Sunderland, and Newcastle, and you ain't going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, you ain't going to do it. So I'm now trying to get him to learn that he has to understand that ball doesn't belong to him. He has to give it to other kids as well.
Yeah.
Now, if he can give it and get it back, they'll lend the ball to get it back.
Yeah.
I want to do that. And I didn't tell him, and he went off the pitch at the end, and the young lad who helps me said, "Oh, he was very upset." And I had to put a message into the group chat and say, look, the reason why your parents wouldn't have recognized tonight, but this is why I did it. And I did it because I know clubs are watching him. And if I don't do this, I'm not doing what's right for that child to make him a better player, to give him that better chance.
That's absolutely brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. I want to take that brilliance of like man management or kid management as it's in this. You mentioned earlier, I've got to pick up on it, that over the 3 incarnations as manager at Darlington, nobody ever put a transfer request in. Just tell. You were manager at Darlington 3 times, right? That's like a piece of elastic bringing you back. Talk to us about your love for Darlington. Obviously, you've got your book out as well about that, which is great. But talk to us about Darlington and what the draw was, or how that came about, and what's your story around that for us, Hodgey?
Okay. So first off, you have to try and understand Hodgey to a certain extent, that money's, albeit it was made public on another podcast that obviously at one point I was the highest paid player in English football because of the contract negotiated with Boro. But in all honesty, everybody who knows me, it's never been my objective in life, ever. So when I went to Dawn in '95, I actually walked away from my agency business, which at that time was, wow, like absolutely flying. And I was involved in so many transfers, okay? And I took over Dawn. And it was something that I'd always wanted to do. If you'd said to me at 24, 25 years of age, Hodgey, which I was then just starting to lose a bit of love for football, by the way, especially at Sunderland when Laurie Mack came. Anyway, I fell in love with Dawn Football Club. Did I fall in love with the club, or did I fall in love with the town, or did I fall in love with the fact is that here I was given the opportunity to guide players' lives, change their lives.
Yeah.
And I know I did, because when I first arrived, I made a point of saying, not by name, but said, in this changing room, I'm telling you now, 4 players will go on to play at the highest level. And the point I made that is I put every player in that club on the transfer list, every single one. Jim Platt was my assistant. And he came and he said, he used to call me boy. Hey, boy. In his Irish accent. What the? I said, anyway, there was a reason why I did it. And I sat in the change room. So I put them all on the transfer list on the Saturday night. I never spoke to them for a week. And I went on the Friday night to a hotel room. We were playing away at Barnet. And I went in the room and I said, right, I will walk out of this hotel tonight and not come back if you want me to. But I'm telling you now, the point I'm making is there's 4 players in here who I know will go on to play at the highest level. Okay? So I was playing mind games, but I knew it. And my love for that group of players was already there. And they 4 did. They all went on. Okay? Thingy.
So, you want to name them?
I will. Sean Gregan.
Yeah.
Went on to play Leeds United.
Yeah.
Preston. Robbie Blake.
Oh, yeah.
Long career.
Leeds United, as it happens. Adam Reid went to Blackburn Rovers. Mike Pollitt went on to play at Wigan and Bolton, I think, in the Premier League, etc., etc. There was another kid at the time called Stevie Gunn, who was also a very, very good player, who moved but didn't go to the heights. So anyway, the bottom line is, I'd sort of fallen in love with the football club, but I'd fallen in love with having the possibility of changing people's lives.
Yeah, yeah.
And Matty Appleby.
Oh, yeah.
Matty Appleby went on to play for Barnsley in the Premier League. And Matty was special as well, by the way. So there was actually more than 4, but those were the kids who I knew if I could get them to play and do it right, they had the ability, they didn't have the mental strength.
Yeah.
To change it. So what I'm going back to, without that little story there, is I fell in love with having the ability to change players' lives.
Yeah.
More than anything else. And let me tell you, I fought for every one of those players at the football club at the time for lots of different reasons. And that was the bond that I had with those players. Still remains to this day, because whenever they have a reunion, a party, they call me up and say, Gaffer, you're coming tonight. And I go, okay.
Because they don't always invite the Gaffer, do they, after these reunions?
And I still do to this day. So in a way, that's the thing that drives me. It drives me with the kids now, with the coaching.
Yeah.
Okay, I get to the point where I become obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And I was obsessed with trying to change players' lives who came into Don Football Club. And listen, I could name another 20 that went on to leave from Don on to bigger and better things.
Yeah.
But the great thing was, my biggest thing was, nobody else ever asked for a transfer.
But you're a northeast lad. You're a northeast lad, so you've got Darlow. You're a Sunderland fan. You were born in Gateshead, as far as I know, and you played for the Boro. Yes. That's quite unique. Are you just a big fan of northeast football in general? You haven't got that tribalism that says, "I want."
Well, yeah. Hold on. I played in Spain, France, Japan.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah.
So yeah, listen. I don't know if it maybe I got opportunities. I got offered the Bristol City job. I turned it down because they put it in the public domain before they'd even sort of technically spoken to me. I got offered the Bournemouth job. I got offered Barnsley job, even though the manager Simon Davey, who took me there to help him, they wanted me to replace him, and I wouldn't do it. And I
No.
told twice the boardroom, said, "No way in a million years will I take a job off a person who has brought me in the club." I went to Japan. Um, my coach, my manager was Bill Fawkes, Manchester United
Oh,
legend.
yeah.
Absolutely. And Big Bill signed me, and the club offered me the job, which would have meant that if I'd taken that job, Bill would have lost his job, and I declined that.
Yeah.
So I will never, ever, ever, ever take something off somebody, ever.
In in your experience, Hodgie, do you find that it strikes me that you've all your values are really strong human values. Do you see that still in the game, or do you find that that's also something that's slipped a bit from the modern game?
41 days.
Just having
41
those
days in management, yeah. 41 days in management.
But I mean, just having those, it feels almost sometimes like it feels a bit more cutthroat, dog eat dog. Whereas,
I think from a management perspective, I think it'd be very difficult to. There is people in the game who are still at the same clubs and have been for a long time. I think that would be difficult today because of how society is. As for players, I don't know them as human beings and what their values and principles are. I think a lot of my values and principles are starting to dilute in life anyway, truthfully.
Yeah.
Because of how society is today.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's just how I am. I cannot change. My wife sometimes doesn't like how I am as like how I react to things. But I think that society has changed so much in football. I think the kids today who get these opportunities, they don't have that. Not all, please, but they don't have that burn desire. These kids today, at 16, 15, 16, they're getting paid absolute mind-blowing figures.
Oh, they are. Yeah, they are.
For nothing, for not even achieving anything.
Yeah.
Because somebody's so scared that, if we don't give him 20 grand a week, he might go there. Well, believe in your ability to make a judgment on a player. Will he go there? Will they take him?
It's so true that
25 grand.
It's
there's all kinds of things in football now, which is wrong.
Do you know what? I think I said this to you once, Nick. I remember being at a petrol station and I was going to an Everton game, and there was an under-23 player who pulled up, and I know most of the players, and I used to go and see a lot of the under-23 games, and he pulled up in this top of the range personal number plates on a Range Rover, kitted out in all his designer gear. And I remember just looking at him, shaking my head, and he actually looked across me and said, "What?" And I said, "But you've done nothing." I said, "Look at you, you've got a huge Range Rover, personal plate, you're all kitted out, all flash. You've done nothing. You've done nothing." And he just looked at me absolutely gobsmacked. I said, "I'm older than you." I said, "I speak my mind," but I said, "You haven't achieved anything." I said, "Nobody knows who you are." I said, "Look," I said, "You're everything that's wrong with football." And I didn't care if it hurt his feelings. It just made my blood boil because I thought it's kind of almost not his fault because it's what the clubs give them.
That's how it is. The clubs today, they haven't got the balls to say, right, listen, this kid here, he's special. Sell the club to him, but don't sell to him with money. But you have no choice because what will happen is, I've been an agent also for 30 odd years. Your chances are that the agent will have another club who will give him that next 10 grand more. So you're not in a win-win situation. You just don't win it anymore, and nothing wrong with that.
Do you think that money's ruining the game, or do you think that money was? Do you think money was there in your day, but just in a different way?
Listen, what we got paid was probably more than what the general guy working from 9 to 5 did. Okay, 100%. I know that because of what my wages were. But today, these figures are mind-blowing. They're on £250,000 per week.
A week.
Yeah.
Isak played the other night for Liverpool. He's on 250 grand a week, minimum. He touched the ball 6 times, give it away 4, and had 1 shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not,
Shit,
not,
in my
not
worst
great value.
game as a Boro player or a player for wherever, I know I touched the ball more than 6 times. I know I probably didn't have many shots, by the way, but I know I didn't give it away 4 times. That's for sure. And I wasn't getting paid 300 grand a week.
Yeah. Just a quickie on. I'm just conscious of the time, guys. But Dom mentioned he's great at segues. Dom, whether he knows it or not, right? He mentioned they've not achieved anything yet. Is it true that you've got a story about Jose Mourinho in his early days and something to do with Birmingham City? Are we right in assuming that? Because Dom thinks he's seen you talk about that. We'd love to finish on this because I've been building up to it. I love this story. So just explain Jose Mourinho, Birmingham City, and what might have been.
Okay, so at that time, Trevor Francis was manager of Birmingham City, and Birmingham had decided that was it Trevor or was it no that I can't remember, maybe it could have been Barry Fry at the time, and they decided they were going to release him. It was Trevor, I think it was Trevor. So Karen Brady got in touch with me. I'd helped them with something, to tell you the truth, which prompted the call from Karen at the time, and she said, Hodgey, look at David says, which is David Sullivan, if there's anybody out there that you'd like to put forward, please put him forward. So I put this particular guy forward, Mourinho, but it's okay to say Mourinho now, but remember, this was Mourinho that nobody knew.
Yeah.
And so I put this particular guy forward. And the reason I'd done that, I'd been out to Portugal to watch, as it happens, this guy's particular team, but it was a player I was watching. But I remember watching this guy on the sideline thinking, and I'd already been a manager at that point, so I had knowledge of it. I thought, oh, wow, Jesus, he's doing well. But anyway, long story. So I put him forward. And David Sullivan invited me across to a board meeting to discuss all of this. And I had never met Mourinho. It was through another agent called Angelo Martins, who knew Jose very well, whatever, the Portuguese ex-players. And he gave me the curriculum vitae. And obviously, I'd seen the guy a couple of times from the dugout. And I put him forward. And David invited me over, David Sullivan. And we're in the boardroom. And obviously on there is, i.e. Mourinho, where he'd been assistant manager, coach, whatever, under Bobby Robson. So I actually also had Bobby's number in my mobile phone because I knew Bobby. I could tell you a story about that, but it's another day. And I knew him quite well. So I called him from the mobile, and Bobby answered. And I said, hi, Bobby, it's Hodgey. I'm in the boardroom at Birmingham City. I'm sat with Mr. David Sullivan, Miss Karen Brady, and the chief executive, who really, I should know, his name escapes me. They would like to speak to you about a coach that I've recommended. Bobby said, absolutely. And David Sullivan stepped and said, Mr. Hodgson, do you mind if I call you from a landline, but I need you on a speakerphone? And he said yes, and did. And I always remember, because when the call went through, Bobby went and called him, hello, Mr. Chairman. He didn't call him David Sullivan. I always remember that and thought, wow, that's respectful.
Yeah,
I retained that throughout my managerial days, by the way. So you always pick some from me. And anyway, he proceeded to say, David's recommended this player to this manager to us. Bobby, he's worked with you. What's your thoughts and views on him that might help us make a decision process? And Bobby's first words were, forget him. and David Sullivan sort of like, he said, listen, he was my interpreter at Barcelona, blah, blah, blah. He will not have the capabilities of managing English football. End of.
Wow.
End of. And Birmingham didn't go with it. And I'm not really sure if Bobby was saying that because he didn't want Mourinho into English football, competing against him, because Bobby Robson was competitive, if ever there was a person.
Yeah.
Did he do it for that reason? Did he do it because he believed that maybe Jose couldn't be a coach? Or maybe he hadn't seen the qualities of Jose, of his own team in Portugal, as opposed to being his assistant? I don't know.
Yeah.
So on that note, Jose did not get the Birmingham job. And funny enough, went that season to Porto, won the Champions League, and I think 2 years later was managing Chelsea.
That's incredible. Interestingly, though, do you know if he was up for the? Would he be? Would he?
Well,
would he have
I'm
been
assuming
up for the job?
so, because Angelo Angelo wouldn't have presented me with the curriculum vitae,
Yeah.
CV, if that was not the case. And I think, don't get me wrong, even back then, Birmingham City were a big club.
Yeah.
Big fan base. And Mourinho was where was he at now? Cremonese? I can't remember which club was at the time.
Was he at Braga? Was it Braga he was
No,
at?
he wasn't at Braga. Not Braga. It wasn't Braga. I'm sorry, age is taking the better of me now. So I can't be. But I'm sure he'd have been on the plane into Birmingham, East Midlands Airport, with the intentions had he been given that opportunity for that job.
Well, listen, guys, on that, I'm just considering that has been absolutely a sensational opportunity for us to chat to you, Hodgey. You've been brilliant in terms of.
Thank you so much.
And what a way to finish. The Mourinho could have been at Birmingham. That is a sensational sort of end. We'll have you back on because you've got stories coming out your ears, haven't you, that we could explore. We put together something of a script. We've not touched any of that, have we? Because it's just been a great pleasure chatting to you about football and, where it's been, where it's got to. I love the fact that you got these values instilled in you that hopefully you're passing on to, a new generation. But the fact that you were in management to influence people's lives for the positive, what a great thing to be, David. That's been just a real eye opener for us, and hopefully our audience will just love it, and that's why I put David Hodgson, football legend, on the screen, because you are indeed a football legend. Dom, anything to finish with?
I would just like to finish with, can you please come back so we can ask you some more questions? Because I could literally talk to you.
We'll come back and we'll have a chat about George.
I honestly could. I've got a list of my long of things I want to ask you. I haven't even touched on the fact that you played with my idol as a kid, who was Kenny Dalglish. That in itself is a conversation piece, but there's so much I could ask you, and please come back on so we can do a part 2. I'd love you to come back on. But it's just been an honour and a pleasure speaking to you, Hodgey. It's been
chaps. Thank you as well.
Excellent.
Kind of a mini bucket list more for me, speaking to one of my boyhood heroes. So thank you so much.
And me, I'll just do the share of the screens for the outro, just to let people know what's going on for next time. So that's been football is not what it used to be with our very special guest Hodgey, as we've said. And the reality of that is we've enjoyed that immensely, and hopefully the audience will as well. This episode's been brought to you in connection with Huddle Up, with the people that we working with who are looking after fan supporter well-being and wellness. Adam Franklin, Connor Bottrell, great guys getting into EFL clubs, championship clubs, and National League clubs to offer support, something really different in terms of how they access just support for when they're not quite at the races in terms of their mental well-being or their wellness. Episode 44 is going to be the sorry state of football finances. Will football eventually implode? Dom and I have got some research on that. But without further ado, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Hodgey, again. Thanks, Dom, as ever, for being a great co-host. We'll see you all for episode 44.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, chaps. Thank you so much.
It's been wonderful. Cheers, Hodgey. Thanks very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers.